Have some of your relationships gone cold? Are you missing a deeper connection with some of the most important people in your life? I'll give you 3 quick strategies to help you restore and strengthen those relationships, as well as help you build some new ones. Let's get going. For smart communication, career, and social skills tips, subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to get notified when I post a video every Tuesday. Managing our relationships is something that takes constant effort, time, and care. I'm Peixoto with WholeWorker, and I've been training professionals like yourself for the past 20 years. Now I'm bringing my expertise direct to you in this YouTube channel. Now, stick with me to the end of this video because I've got a free tool that I want to give you that'll take your emotional intelligence skills to the next level. All right, let's get to it. Now, within emotional intelligence, there are 4 competencies or 4 skills. There's self-awareness and self-management. Then there's social awareness and relationship management. In this video, we'll be dealing just with relationship management, and I want to give you 3 strategies that you could use to strengthen your existing relationships and build some new ones as well. Okay, let's get to it. Now, this first strategy that I want to train you in under relationship management is a strategy I call communication style. And what we want to do here is consider the other person's communication style, the person that we're trying to rebuild a relationship or build a new relationship with. Let's take, for example, the broad spectrum of personality types, introverts and extroverts. Both come across differently. And so if we're of one type, we might need to think in terms of being the other type. For example, I tend to be a bit extroverted, and when I come in contact with introverts, I know I've got to tone it down a bit. I can come across a little too bold, a little too daring. And the opposite could be said of introverts. Maybe introverts need to pep it up a bit and really reach out a bit to those extroverts in their lives. So what we're doing here is we're starting to think about how is the other person receiving information and receiving input from me. That'll help you with their communication style. On the broader spectrum, considering communication style, let's talk about knowing your audience. Let's say you're scheduled to attend an event and there's going to be lots of different people there. Well, you could do some research ahead of time, find out who's going to be there. Consider what kind of personalities they have, what their interests are. This will help you make inroads and start conversations in building relationships, especially with new people. Another thing to remember when you're in the midst of that conversation, in building a relationship with a new person or rebuilding it with an older person, an older relationship that is that tone is key. Be careful of your tone. You know, we don't just say words, we say words with feelings. We say the words, that's the data, and then there's the feelings that come riding across with the data. You know, I could say no in answer to your question, or I could say no. Those 2 no's mean 2 completely different things. The first is very definitive, and I'm sort of dismissing your idea. The second, I'm equivocating a bit there. I'm saying, well, I might be open to it, but no, I don't think so, right? Those are 2 different types of no. So watch your tone. Tone is key. Another thing in building relationships, especially with new folks, is eye contact. You know, one of the ways we connect deeply with an individual is the amount of eye contact we spend with that individual. We have so many targets for our eyes these days. Our phones, our computers, all the distractions that are around us. But when you're focusing on trying to build a relationship with someone, especially a new relationship, make sure you're making some good, solid eye contact. Now, I'm not talking about drilling them down with your eyes. Make sure you take your eyes off them for a second or 2, but make sure you make some good eye contact with them. Another thing you can do is, remember I said earlier in this skill that we like people who are like us? Well, one of the ways we determine, sort of way in the back of our minds, that someone is like us is when they do the same things that we do. And so you can employ what we call mirroring technique. For example, if they're standing with their arms folded, you might want to fold your arms as well. If they're standing, sort of scratching their face there a little bit, you might want to do that for a second or 2 as well. When we move like the other person does, that we're trying to build a relationship with, we're sending micro signals that we are like them. That's called mirroring technique and can be very, very helpful. The second is we can do the same with our words. We can do what we call matching vocabulary, or vocabulary matching, actually. Matching vocabulary is using the same words, using their very vocabulary back with them. That says, I understand what you're saying, and I'm familiar with the terms you're using. So match their vocabulary. All of these things are ways that we can address these differences in us and make inroads into building deep relationships with other people. It's a technique I call communication style. I'm curious to know if you enjoy reaching out to people who are of a different personality type than you. For example, some introverts love reaching out to extroverts and building relationships with them. Others don't. How do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, this next strategy I want to give you has more application with old relationships than it does with brand new ones. It's a strategy I call get mad right. Yep. Did you know there's a right way to get mad? All right, let's take a look at 5 things we can do to make sure we get mad right and that we're more effective in expressing our anger. The first thing is, most important, make sure you're connecting and addressing the right person. Very often we express our anger towards some secondary or tertiary figure, you know? Very often it will be towards our spouses when someone at work really got us angry. So be careful of that. Make sure you're addressing the correct person. The second thing is make sure you're addressing the correct issue. Did you ever notice that sometimes when you get angry, it's not really that you're angry at the thing you're discussing. You're angry about the way they said it or how they make you feel when they said it. It's some issue that's back there. So make sure you're addressing that issue and not the current one that's being discussed. That's really not the issue at all. Make sure you're addressing the correct issue. Thirdly, make sure you choose your words carefully. Very often when anger flares up and tempers get hot, we start using very, very strong language. Be careful of that. No going into an argument that you've got to tone it down a bit just with your very vocabulary. And speaking of tone, make sure that your tone matches the gravity of the situation. You know, if we're just discussing whether or not we fold the napkins in a certain way, you know, that's not really deep argument. We're not talking about life and death situations here. The tone of that argument, the tone of our words should match the gravity of the situation. And lastly, be sure of what you want the outcome to be. Before you go into an argument, before you let your temper flare, make sure you know what you want to get out of this. If it's just you're emoting and getting something off your chest, you know, you're better off doing that to the wind or to the air. You won't make that person feel any better, and most importantly, you will not resolve the issue. So make sure you're clear on what you want the outcome of this argument to be, all right? If you apply all 5 of those points to your next argument or to someone who's really bugging you about something, you will have gotten mad right. Hey, are you serious about increasing your emotional intelligence skills? Well, I've got a complete online course that I want to tell you about at the end of this video, so stick with me. Okay, this last strategy I want to give you has to do with the very heart of emotional intelligence, and that is the ability to empathize with others. When we build empathy with a person, we build strong and lasting bonds with that individual. So I call this last strategy Empath Example. All right? The first thing we want to do to build empathy, and it's a skill that we are losing these days. I have long conversations and long training sessions with professionals in corporate settings about the ability to empathize with individuals. The first thing I want you to do is respond to emotional signals. You know, we're sending out emotional signals all the time, and very often, each of us, myself included, I will admit, are ignoring them. You know, when someone acts frustrated, acknowledge that frustration. When someone acts angry, make sure you acknowledge that anger. We do this in various ways. It's not even with words. You know, if someone just sighs sometimes in the next cubicle, something is bugging them. Acknowledge and respond to emotional signals. That's one of the ways we begin to empathize with an individual. The second way is literally acknowledging those feelings. Hey, I can hear that you're angry about this, or I can hear that you're frustrated about this, or I can hear that you're really down today. Acknowledge those feelings in others. One of the simplest ways we can make inroads in building relationships with other individuals is just to acknowledge their feelings. We are not robots. We are feelings. We are emoters. We are a mass of emotions first before we rationalize. So acknowledging those feelings acknowledges the very humanness in that individual. So do that. Acknowledge feelings. Thirdly, take time to relate. You know, we are all distracted from our relationships. We start to have deeper relationships with our phones and our televisions and our computers than we do with other individuals. Take time to relate. Push the technology away and tell an individual that you want to build a relationship with, hey, let's go to lunch without our phones, or let's go to lunch and turn our phones off. I want to get to know you a little bit better. So make time to relate. Really, really important, and one that builds empathy for and with an individual. Another thing you can do is compliment their mood. Now, I don't mean compliment with an I. I don't mean complimenting them on their mood. I mean compliment, as in offset with an E. Compliment their mood. If they're feeling down, for example, maybe you can cheer them up a bit. Maybe you can bring them up a little bit, or vice versa. Maybe they're getting really manic and they need to calm down a little bit about the situation. So compliment their mood, offset their mood, and get some balance there between your moods, all right? And lastly, relate how they're feeling to reason, all right? So you're feeling this way because X, Y, and Z. But that might not happen. Maybe X, Y, and Z aren't the eventual outcome. So make sure you relate how they're feeling to some of the reasons they're feeling that way, so that they can stay grounded in reason as well, all right? All of these things will help you develop a more empathic relationship with an individual, which is a super way to build strong bonds one to another. It's a way I call Empath Example. Okay, so that's 3 practical ways you can increase your relationship management skills, thereby increasing your overall emotional intelligence. But that's just 3 of 10 ways you could be increasing your emotional intelligence today if you download my free ebook entitled 10 Ways to Boost Your Emotional Intelligence now, all right? It's available for a free download, and the link to that is in the show notes below this video. Now, we've got multiple ways that you can connect to the WholeWorker community. You can hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We also have a website, WholeWorker.com, in which if you visit it, you'll see some free tools are there as well to increase not only your emotional intelligence, but your social and communication skills as well. As I mentioned before, if you really want to take your emotional intelligence skills to another level, I've got a complete online course that you can enroll in today. The link to the course description page is in the show notes below. So hit that link and you'll be taken right to a page that'll tell you how long the course is, what the cost of the course is, what it will do for you, and all the benefits of taking that course. So check that out. That link is below. Hey, if you like this video, hit like right now, subscribe to this channel, and ring that bell so that you get notified every time I post a new video. And share this channel with your friends as well. Some of you already are doing that. If you found this video helpful, I'd really love it if you type the word helpful in the comments below, just so I know. I'm Peixoto with WholeWorker. Thanks for watching.